Everyone, welcome back to MechaNORN. We're doing, the usual shows. And just jump right into it. We're gonna get started with Gundam. It's been 2 weeks. We had a little Thanksgiving, break, so we were kind of behind because of that. But that and I was lazy yesterday. We should have done it. But it's fine. So I guess Sam, sorry, you want to go over Gundam 8 and 9?
Sure, gladly. So, how do I want to say this? I think I like to go by themes with these kinds of shows, with Gundam specifically. And if I had to give a theme for episode 8, it'd be Mika and Orga are sulking a lot. And if I had to give a theme for episode 9, it'd be grow up, you lightweights.
Mine would be more like the harem stuff. It's genre shift. Gundam now. It's a harem series. For episode 8
come
and
on,
9.
guys. You gotta look a little deeper than that.
Well, I will definitely say that Gundam is the best harem show of the season, bar none.
Right, it's only
And-
harem to actually show you
Well,
what happens
I can't
after
call
they
it a
hook
harem
up.
show. It's more like it's a show that
obviously
has
not
a harem.
We're joking about that. It's obviously not actually a harem show.
Well, I give them props for actually showing like a family being made from the harem. They usually never show you that next step at all in any of those shows, but yeah.
I
so,
just want to laugh at Fosh for a bit because he was shipping so hard for Mika and what's her face. It's like
there's still
oh,
there's still
she's
time.
taken-
There's still time. You know
Yeah, you say that, but she's already had a kid.
Mr. Pimp guy could get killed, and they need
You say-
new husband. Never
You say
know.
that, but
Never know.
she's already probably had a kid. You don't want to go jumping those guns.
I don't think so. She's too young for that. They usually don't do that with the young ones. They usually do it with the older ones. Like, I can believe Amita has one, but I can't see Laughter having
Well,
one.
the Twin Tail girl made a comment that he is, I guess as wild in bed as they are as when they're training. So I assume there's something going on there. But anyway, I guess let's get to the actual episode. It was more than just,
Let's not get off track. Let's get back on track. So, actually, I saw a lot, like, in both these episodes. Actually, the harem thing was there, but I really didn't pay much attention. I was like a lot of attention
It's
to
not
it.
a focus of the show. It's just a funny little tidbit to add on.
yeah, it's an extra thing in there.
I mean, we have the first one was called The Form of Closeness. The second one was Sakazuki. The first one I really liked more so, like I said, the relationship between Orga and Nika, and we see more. Both these were character development episodes, and you really get to see a lot more behind the team. Like we've seen some of Orga, we've seen some of Mika, we've seen a little bit of their like their officers' council, and we barely like scratched the surface with the rest of them. But this kind of opened it up a lot more to us being able to see the characters of the orphans. Well, not all individually, but we've gotten to see them more than we have before.
Right, yeah, it wasn't just about Mika, it was other people doing stuff too.
I mean, Mika actually took a lot of a back seat to some parts of it.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, these two episodes have focused heavily on Orga, and especially Orga as he deals with Naze. Or, I don't think it's actually Naze, it's not. Whatever, that's not the point. Anyway, the first, big interaction between those two is right immediately as you see Orga and his crew storming the bridge of the Hammerhead, their ship. Orga is this close to pulling the trigger on Mariba, but he is saved by Naze so he can live a life as a slave on a planet. Yeah! Good going, guys.
I liked how the when they're aboard in the ship, the rest of the crew kind of was just kind of like like they didn't really care. All the girls were kind of like waiting for them to come to the, I guess the I don't know, the area. It's pretty funny watching them.
They already knew what's more beneficial, working with Pekadan or fighting for Mariba.
And Mariba's kind of, I don't like him either. He's very annoying.
Well, that's why he's on the slave planet forever and ever.
Yeah.
I liked the way that when he was up there and he was like screaming at them for them to kill him. And actually, at first you see the change in the two girls who are on the front, and you just see them like looking at him, and they don't say anything, but it's just like this silent change, like as they're watching him complain, and how he's just screaming for them to kill them. And then you see Naze, and he's watching him, and you just see this look on his face. It's like he doesn't he doesn't like get angry. He doesn't. Well, we don't even know if he gets angry, but it's like this. He's got this silent like thoughts going on, and he's like realizing what this guy is, and that he's like this little wimp of a jerk. And it's very interesting, good, because you see that Naze is this experienced guy. He's been around the block, but he likes to observe people and see what they'll do before he makes any sort of judgment on them. Because we saw when he's with Orga, and Orga's about to kill Marbara, and he's like, he doesn't say anything until he sees that Orga is really serious about it, and he's about to kill him, and he's about to pull the trigger, and that's when he finally says something. But you see him watching them the whole time, and he's like judging. He basically judged Orga's entire character on that one time, that one scene,
Right.
and what he did. Because when we finally get to episode 9, and he's proposing this to, the head honcho guy, he's already decided, oh, I'm gonna have a blood oath with them, which is a pretty serious thing. And he's already decided, oh, I'm gonna do that with this guy he's barely met for like, a week at most, or 2 weeks. What was it, 10 days? So that's like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And he's like, yeah, I'm willing to go into a blood oath with this kid because I've seen what type of man he is and what type of person he is, and I know, like, between him and Marlboro, like, who I would choose.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's really interesting to see that.
Before I move on with this episode, I'd like a moment of silence in memory of poor Maruba.
Who cares about Marlboro?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, he's I won't miss him at all. Just like Derp Hitler, I won't miss him either. But yeah, it was, you were talking earlier. It was a nice scene. I guess you could test Orga. How far would he be willing to go? And he knows that this guy will do whatever it takes. So he's like, you can go as far as to kill that guy almost, but even though they stopped him.
Because they didn't kill him or the Derp Hitler guy,
No,
and it's
not
like,
yet.
do you think they're gonna actually come back? Like, oh, they escaped the en route or something.
They're gonna
and
team up.
they team up, and they're gonna come back for revenge against Orga and his men.
Yeah. Good luck with that. I guess to move on with more with episode 8 was Orga kind of figuring out like a family and all that, not just.
Well, yeah,
more
because
things about that. It was pretty nice.
there are
I like that.
essentially there's 3 important scenes. 2 of them involve Orga and Naze meeting, and one of them is also when you see Mika and Akihiro training with the lady folk.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time where you see Orga meeting with Naze, you also have him with Kudelia and
Right.
a couple other guys, and this one is more akin to, I guess, a negotiation. You have Orga saying, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to get our job done. We want to escort Kudelia, we don't want to just work for you guys and become subservient and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I felt in this first interaction between the two, it was, how do I want to phrase this? Okay. They were a lot more even, I guess, than their second interaction, because while Naze was still, like, calling him, like, boy and whatnot,
Right, he was, yeah.
he wasn't, like, he didn't have the same attitude, because at the end of their second instrument, he's like, oh man, I just had a really immature conversation, or whatever his line was like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that time. But the second time Orga came talking to him, like, you could see, like, he was kind of dejected about that. He was all like, when he left the room, he was like crouching, like holding his head, like, man, I fucked up.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, Orga's always, I've talked about like his relationship with Mika a lot, but we haven't talked about him I don't think I've talked about his individuality that much. But this episode and episode 9 as well are great about Orga's individual place. It shows him, like, yes, for him, I guess, his priorities are Mika first, Tekudan second, and then basically himself third, because he even has that line. He says, my job is to make a place for these people even if I have to die for it, which Naze is quick to criticize, because if he dies, there's no place at all.
Right, if he died, and who's gonna help these people?
Yeah, we need a head of the family, and Naze knows where Naze stands in the family.
Right. Maybe he's trying to get Orga to realize like the mob style mentality where you have a head boss and you gotta like have one of those in order to run a family like that. If he goes, everyone else goes almost.
I mean, some parts the whole the two most important parts of like episode for me was you said the conversation between Naze and Orga. Well, actually, it was three. That one when they were talking and he was talking about family, and to me it was actually. It's not actually that Naze is teaching Orga anything or revealing anything to him. It's the fact that he's showing Orga what he already, or he's pulling out of Orga what he already knows, and he just doesn't have words for. Because Orga knows, Orga is it has been the head of his family, or has been the head of this group since even before Tekken was formed.
Right.
And he's been the leader the best leader he could have been the whole time. The only thing is he didn't really see it as a family, or didn't have an idea of the word family. What I put it to be because he's an orphan. He's been an orphan for a long time. We don't know when his parents died, but he's been on his own for a very long time, if we've seen from the flashbacks. Mm-hmm. And if he's been an orphan for that long, his idea of family is like probably very vague. And so for him, he knows like what a family is, what he's describing, and he's struggling to describe when he's talking about the blood and iron and how we're connected through this bond of blood, that he is talking about a family, but he just doesn't realize that's what he's talking about.
Right, he's seeing it from another point of view, basically.
Yeah, and it looks funny with like, Biscuit on the other side, his expressions when Orga is saying this is that, Biscuit knows that what a family's like more so than Orga does, because he has one. He has sisters and his grandmother, and he knows that's what he's trying to say, but he's overwhelmed by the fact that that's what he's been feeling this whole time, and it's really powerful for him too. So I like that Naze is not like, he's not really overshadowing or trying to even really teach or mentor Orga. It's more so that he's just pulling out like stuff that he already knew, like stuff that he knows but doesn't have a name for, or stuff that he just never really considered wholesale at first. Mm-hmm. Like the
that
idea
sounds pretty close to being a teacher to me.
Well, yeah, it's different. It's really, I mean, like, I'm studying to be a teacher, so it's different between teaching somebody stuff that they never knew, and pulling out things that they already know, they just don't have a name for. Like, I can teach you about chemistry, and you don't know anything about chemistry, so you won't know it. But if you studied it before, then I'm more of a tutor, I guess. So it's like two different. Like it's a small difference, but it's a difference.
Instead of calling him a teacher, maybe you'd Aniki?
Maybe more of like a mentor.
Or a master?
I guess. Yeah, like more of like a mentor, I guess.
Yeah, mentor's probably better. Yeah, so the Orga can kind of look at how he does things and kind of take some
Orga is like the role model for everybody.
Right,
but
yeah.
He doesn't have his own.
Yeah, so I guess Nas could be the role model for Orga at this point.
That's actually a really good way to put it.
He can look to now.
Mm-hmm.
So
and there's one other thing.
Aniki for Aniki.
I like that. Yeah, and also of course
he needs an older brother.
Right.
Yeah, there's other great scenes, like for instance when you have Atra and Cordelia going to they go to the nursery on their ship.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They have a nice talk about. The talk about like a man's measurement in love is in episode 9. Episode 8 was just them talking more about, very much like this is what family is to like all these different people. Because
they all
you have the different ladies in Naze's harem talking about like how they view love, and the shocked expressions on Cordelia's face like throughout the episode are priceless.
Yeah. It was an eye opener for her, definitely. You know, she probably didn't realize that
Well,
there's people like Nazi out there that have these families like this.
Yeah. It's like having international water. It's international space. There's no laws.
Right. Yeah, it's really revealing to her, I guess. Maybe she, maybe she obviously shows more. She doesn't really know a lot about the outside of, other people
Yeah,
how they do
totally.
things.
And of course, like I was saying before, when I think the theme of this episode is Mika and Orga sulking. So we
Mhm.
talked about like Orga. He kind of had his eyes opened, I guess, to what a family really is, to what his relationship with Tekadan really is. He was kind of sulking because, like, if you think about like, there hasn't been anyone up till now who was like, no, Orga, you're wrong about this, because Orga has been right about everything since like the start of the show. It's like he made the right decisions, he made the right calls to Tekadan, and he led them to victory so far. And I mean, he even did lead them to victory against Naze. But the difference is, of course, that even though he was always right in making his decisions, like, there's still ways for him to grow from the boy that he truly is into a man's man.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah,
yeah.
so
I think somebody had put forth like on a forum I was at somewhere. They were saying that in Japan they really don't have like a name for teenager, and so it's like this thing like if you're either like a child or you're an adult, and it's like there's no in between sort of thing. And so when you kind of for us you can see that they're definitely like young adults, so like in between, but for them it's like almost between a child and an adult. And so for them to they're growing from child and adult, and it's it's the difference of culture in a little bit, but I like how they're trying to show that Orga is still he still has his like immaturities because he's so young. I mean,
Mhm.
he's got a lot of pressure on him. He's got everything on his shoulders, and he wants to lead them, and they go about this more in episode 9, but it's like it's not that he doesn't have the ability to let go. It's like he just never thought he could, in a way, because he's supporting everybody, and now everybody wants to come in and say, okay, well, we're gonna help you, Orga. And he's like, it's very hard for a leader, to come in and say, okay, I can let go of something for somebody else, especially if there are people that you've protected that whole time. I mean, with him and Mika, he's constantly trying to be there for Mika, and Mika's doing the opposite. He's trying to be there for Orga, and it's not that they clash, it's that they're
it's their
both afraid
dependency.
that they have this dependency on each other, and one is like, well, when you see the end scene between Orga and Mika in episode 8 is probably the other most important scene in the episode for me, and it's that you really get a really big look into Mika's like mindset just from his one comment about Orga
Not being left
ditching him.
behind.
And it's not like he's saying, oh, you're gonna get ahead of me, or you're gonna get things like that. It's more like he's afraid of being left by himself, of not being useful, and so he bases his usefulness on how well he can fight and how well he can be like basically Orga's sword, or his his muscle, whatever.
No, that
And
makes perfect sense, and that's why.
yeah.
I mean, you could say like it's silly for Mika to be so down on himself after he came to only a draw against what's her face, when especially because in the past fights he's done so well. But when you look at it like that, where no, to Mika, if he isn't victorious, he doesn't show it, but he might just be afraid that he's no longer useful to Orga. That says a lot about his character, like, and you have to do a lot of reading in to find that kind of not really factual, but I guess interpretation. But I don't know, just thinking about like, why was he so focused on going to the simulator? It's not because I don't think he's really a sore loser, so to say, but it's more like he finds his self-worth in fighting. So if he's not fighting and he's not winning, what is he really worth?
Right, because
Yeah.
Mika's not really not like, you know, bash his character or anything. He's not really a thinker. He's more of a fighter. You know, he's physical with things. Orga is the opposite, which, you know, that's why they're a pair. So I guess, you know, Mika being defeated, he just, you know, doesn't. He wants to improve, so he wants to be better. So obviously he's gonna try to get better.
Like, we don't really know what his background was. I'm really hoping we get, because it looks like there's gonna start doing flashbacks next week, so I hope we get a lot more of those.
Yeah, we
like,
get to see Atra when they first meet, I guess, and how they interacted and all that.
She looks horrible as a kid. I was like,
there's
not horrible bad drawing, but like horrible as what
she looks like a street urchin.
Right. I mean, we haven't really seen where she came from either. You know, what was her past like? Where, you know, so we're gonna learn that. But I guess we might as well jump into episode 9 while we're getting there. I mean, might as well.
Yeah, it's called Sakazuki, and just a quick, I guess, sidetrack. Did you guys watch like many Yakuza movies or anything like that?
Can't say I have. Sorry.
I've read some manga, you know, different manga that deals with Yakuza, but not really watched.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like that kind of movie. So, and I mean, I'm sure the listeners have figured out what it is by just watching the course of the episode, but it's really interesting because it feels like the Teiwas group, they're like half Italian mafia, half a Japanese Yakuza group, which is really just kind of funny.
It was
like,
really weird.
Yeah, because
I was like, wait a minute.
Don Joestar. Yeah, I mean Don Joestar. I mean, wait, what's his real name? Mick Murridson or something.
Right. Yeah, I heard Grandpa Joestar. And I was like, oh my God, it's him.
Yeah.
He's doing the same. Oh my God, say it one time.
Yeah, but it's just like he offers them cannolis and he dresses like the Godfather, but then suddenly he puts on his kimono. It's like culture shock.
Right. I mean, a lot of times in anime, they kind of do that. Sometimes they mix things together like that just to, you know.
I know, but it's so
both.
funny.
It really
is funny.
flashed in this episode. It really flashed.
There's people complaining
I was like, wait a minute, you're wearing a jacket underneath a kimono.
Yeah, there are people complaining like he's missing something, so they're doing like photoshops. They're adding like samurai swords and stuff to him. It's pretty funny. Like he's missing something.
Yeah. But anyway, after their meeting with the Godfather, and I mean, hey, you got a problem with me? Hey.
And yeah,
anyway,
they're just shoving food in their mouth. You know, that one guy was anyway.
Yeah, Eugene.
He was going nuts. Like, it's great.
Yeah, but Don Teiwas, as I'll refer to him because I don't remember his name. He has a lot of interesting things to. What?
I said he has a dumb name. I think it's like you want to say McDonald's, but it's not McDonald's.
That's like the rule of thumb with Gundam though. There's a lot of dumb names. A lot of stupid.
Yeah,
names.
I know. That's why I'm sticking with Don Teiwas, and I'm bad with anime names in the first place. Anyway, moving on. So he has a lot of interesting things. He the first time you see him, he's a lot nicer than you would think, but that's not really his true nature. So first off, Naze brings Orga to them, and he's talking about making a split with Orga. And it comes to the, I guess, Naze suggests making them equals, but I guess the rules, you can't just have the newbie be equal to a longtime member of the syndicate.
Right, you
so it ends
gotta
up
work
being
your way up there somehow.
Yeah, so it ends up being like Orga has to be he's gonna be Naze's subordinate, but not like in the same sense as when the initial offer was given out. And then the really interesting stuff happens with Kudelia, because Don Teiwas, he's talking to her about what her plans are for Mars and whatnot, but he brings a very practical question to light, I guess. They're talking about, well, you see here, be ashamed if something happened to Mars, don't you think? Be a real shame.
Right, because
you might want to get if you want to grease our fingers a bit. See what I'm saying? We might do something for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because her
a little shiv in those Earth folks.
Yeah, her
you know
plan is her plan's gonna make people, you know, fight and it's gonna be war. People are gonna die. So it's like you gotta make a decision if you want this to happen or not. It's just like, well, I guess it finally sinks in there that her doing this is gonna cause people to get killed. So she starts realizing it, like, oh, yeah, this might happen.
The Don points out that just because Mars is independence doesn't mean that there aren't going to be people trying to exploit them.
Right.
In fact, there's probably going to be even more exploitation and even more fighting than there is right now. Because just because the Gjallarhorn isn't running your business, someone else is probably going to try and step in. And who's better to step in and take that job than the Teoaz group?
Yeah, I think that was really I really got out of his I didn't see him as threatening her per se. I thought I saw it more
Oh,
as
that
like
was just an accent. Don't worry.
well, I know, but I mean, like, yeah, I was thinking like he was basically just pointing out to her, you know, you have this, you know, ideal and you have these ideas, and this really is what puts Kudelia way ahead of like other, you know, mecha princesses that, you know, pop in. And it's because she has this ideal, she has this, you know, want to have peace and you know help her people and stuff like that. But she doesn't realize what will happen because of that. And so he brings up like the fact that if you want to, you know, bring this trade thing to a close and have more, you know, independence for Mars to control their own economy and things like that, you know, that's going to bring up all these weeds that are going to pop up between different groups who want to go and control this and control that, and there's going to be friction. And he's like, at the worst case scenario, there's going to be war. So be prepared for that. And we're going to step in if you want us to be your direct appointee if that is indeed the case. And she never, you know, realized that any of this stuff could happen, which is what most, you know, mecha Gundam princesses think. You know, they're like, oh, you know, let's just live life happy and be whatever and sing a song and we'll all be happy. But
I'm thinking
it's
definitely
like
a Comet Gundam. It reminds me of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of this background stuff that she ever considered. And I love that, you know, Mika, you know, he doesn't really understand a lot of this. He's not a political guy. He's not, you know, into all that. In fact, it's funny, you see him standing there like during the whole conversation, and he's listening, but he's like bored because you see him like looking off on the side and everything. Like he's like really bored.
He's definitely not bored or anything, because there comes a point where the offer is on the table. You want to work with the Teoaz group, and there's going to be fighting, there's going to be war, but at least you have someone on your side, quote unquote. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't trust the Mafia that much. But then again, they're being portrayed as the guys at this point in the show.
Right, yeah.
And Kudelia, she's very unsure, so she does look to Mika for some advice, because he's given her advice before on how to better look at things, or what's the better way to interpret things. And I really love Mika's response to this, where he says, your choice is a lot like the first time where I had to kill a person. You have the gun in your hand, and you have to realize I'm pulling the trigger, and I'm taking a life no matter what I do. And I really think that was a great, not like a maturing moment for Kudelia, but it was just like, I don't know, the mist clearing from your eyes. It's like, you're right, I have the gun of politics in my hand, and I'm going to make a decision. And my decision is, she does work with the Teoaz group. But for her, this really is like a heavy load that she is going to have to bear, and she has to understand what she's doing. But all right, let's do this thing.
Right. And there's a forum I was on that a lot of people are kind of mad about the Mafia group being portrayed as like these good guys. It's like, you know, they're a Mafia group. Like, they obviously have to do some crime.
Well, I mean, not every Yakuza Mafia group is going to be evil. I mean, most of the ones that I read or I see are usually not evil, because usually that's not my thing. But it's like they usually just portrayed as like a tough family.
Yeah.
They're always like very close knit. It sort of reminds me sort of like the mafia groups in Gangsta, where it's like, you know, they're the on the dark side of the tracks, but they're still a family, just like, you know, any other group.
Right.
And
yeah,
they're close to each other. And that 60-40 thing, I was confused at it before, like when they first brought it up, but then when I was looking at it later, I was reading his lines when he said, oh, I don't think that they're ready for that. You don't want to put that much on them. When he was saying about the 50-50, which was what, you know, oh gosh, what Naze first wanted to do. And so he said, instead, let's do it 60-40, where basically it's 60 Naze, 40 for Tekkadan.
Right.
And at first I thought they were talking monetary wise, but then I was starting to think when he said that they're not ready for that, maybe he was talking more so about the responsibility you have towards each other. Because as as brothers, you're supposed to be there for whatever your other brother is going to go into. So if something happens, then
Right.
then you're basically, you got their back and they've got yours. So if Naze had to go into something, then they would have had to have been there with him all the way, just like he is. But what their boss, the Tewa's boss guy was saying was that they're not ready for that. They're not ready to take that much responsibility.
Right.
What you should do, you're gonna take the bigger half and let them take the smaller half. So you're gonna be the big brother. You're gonna be the bigger support to cover them. They will be a smaller support, and if you need them, they'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
But don't treat them as the same age or the same equality as you. Don't expect that much, but not expect that much from them, but don't put that much responsibility on them right now because they're not ready for that.
Right, which is again,
Which I thought was
yeah,
wise of him.
yeah, which again is still why they're we haven't really seen the full truth of this group yet. What they're into, we don't know what how they got their money, how they got their start.
Yeah.
So it'd be
I don't know,
interesting to
bet
see if we get to see that other side.
Oh, totally. Maybe I would like to see maybe like a flash where it's like, oh, the Tewa group has been protecting Mars, but for some reason everything's gone a little shittier now. Something like that would be a very interesting thing to see. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of this heavy talk. Let's go drinking.
Right, it was time to relax after they did all that meeting and stuff. It's pretty funny, and seeing them some of the guys become men, quotations, That's what, as they call it. Some of them anyway. And Orga ran into like an interesting woman. I'm wondering about her. What is this girl's role? He met her. She gave her her handkerchief because he was puking. Talk about being an adult. It's like, well, if you're an adult, you gotta hold your liquor.
Well, some people are
like
lightweight.
Yeah, I know.
For that guy for whatever his face is that was going on to the brothels, just be careful for space aids.
Right, exactly. He was just like, well, we'll have some fun, and I like the next day he wakes up, he's just like, oh, I overslept. Like, yeah, I'm sure you did.
There was that there was one of the guys who was with whatchamacallit. He didn't go out with the guy, but when he saw him coming back, he was like sulking. And if I remember correctly, like that's the guy who like at one point during the fight with the Nazis group, he was like kind of lingering and holding onto his hand. So it's like I thought.
Yamaki.
Was it Yamaki? All right, if it was him,
It's
then
Yamaki.
yeah.
He's like he's not with the upper ones. He's like the younger. He's in like one of the younger ones.
He's one of the mechanic guys.
Yeah, mechanic. Yeah, one of the mechanics. One of the blondes.
Yeah, there's a lot of blondes on their Tekkadan. I was looking through pictures yesterday. I was like, Jesus.
What if that's like a subtle hint at like a vaguely homosexual relationship or something?
People have suggested that on some forums I was on, that there might be some because those two hang out.
Yeah,
a lot,
we had talked about that yesterday.
Right.
We were trying to figure out because we were like, we don't know if Gundam's gonna do that because Gundam's not a very risky show. Not unless they really want to push the envelope, and you have to have like a really risque director to do that. Like the guy who did Gundam Seed, he was like, oh, I'm gonna put the first sexual relationship on there.
Right, you did.
That's me. And they let him go with that, but that was it. And then the guy said, okay, fine, I'll go do Cross Ange.
Right.
And do my own.
I mean, the thing about
the funny
thing about anime is they're very okay with homoeroticism, but homosexual relationships themselves are not as common.
Yeah, they're not, especially in Gundam. And Gundam being series is like that's their baby series. They don't want to ruin that, but they've had some questionable choices in the past, I would say. But as far as like relationships go, it'd be interesting to see them do that. But yeah, as Irene said, I don't think they'll actually go forth to do that. But they'll probably hint at it. But
yeah.
But
I mean, we've actually also been considering the fact that Yamagi might actually be a girl.
Yeah, that too.
I don't think so.
I mean, he's the only, because we were saying he's the only person who has never, been topless like everybody else. He always wears all over clothes, and the fact that when he first came in there, he probably would have been, if it was a girl, a very young girl, like, 10, 9, 6, whatever. And at that age, unless you like, look underneath the pants or whatever, they look the same.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it could be like a reverse trap who's trying to hide out and was trying to find a job because there's no jobs available on Mars, and oh, this place only accepts boys, so let me cut my hair and show them I'm a good mechanic, and they'll take me.
I don't think that's reading too much into it, but that's definitely noticing the kind of things that I don't bother caring about. So,
Well, yeah,
whether you're proven right or wrong.
I mean, that's the thing with this Gundam series. A lot of people are watching it for different reasons. Some people watch it for the fighting in the war. Some people watch it for the political side of things. And some just watch it for the, possible shippings and stuff. You never know. Stuff like that. So
yeah, I think I would definitely say I watch it for thematic reasons, because I think thematically there's just so much to digest about this show.
Right, and that's how you enjoy it. I mean, that's how a lot of people take it that way. But yeah.
Quick thing I wanted to bring up is when we did our previous metaverse and we were talking about like Mario Okada isms or whatever. One thing I forgot to bring up is that she loves doing coming of age stories, and this Gundam is totally a coming of age story.
Right. Yeah.
We're seeing Mika and we're seeing Orga and we're seeing Kudelia, all of them becoming adults, them just like turning into just mature people. I mean, that's the whole point of the last episode of Orga. It's like, no, man, you gotta grow up about this kind of shit.
Right.
I mean, I can see Orga, and I can see. Well, even though I would say Orga's pretty grown up as is, he's just got a lot on his plate. He's growing up in certain areas that he just hasn't developed yet. As for Kudelia, she's really growing up. She's coming. Well, that doesn't qualify. But she's basically, she's really good coming out of her shell because she's been sheltered her whole life, and now she's really like learning about all this stuff.
She's learning a lot these last few episodes.
Mika on the other hand, I don't know if he's really gonna change that much. I mean, he really seems like he's already kind of matured way beyond his years. He's learning like things like reading and writing.
Yeah,
but
that's the writing part. Yeah.
That's not like a show of that you're growing up. That's more of just a show that, oh, I've decided, somebody's going to teach me, so I'm going to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it's more learning.
He doesn't seem like he's going to change that much. I mean, he's always going to be loyal to Orga. This abandonment issue thing that they bring up with him, I don't know if that's ever going to really go away. I mean, it doesn't go away in adults either. That's more of a psychological thing. And to me, it's something that probably won't go away, because considering how long he and Orga have been together and he's still afraid of him leaving him, tells me that might just be something that he's going to not suffer with, but have to deal with for like the rest of his life. Like it might be like very heavily buried, but this suggestion that Orga might just leave him one day, even though Orga has proven that he's not going to do that, considering that they've been together for like 15 years.
Right.
Or however long it's been.
Irene, no disrespect, but I hope you're wrong about everything you just said.
Why?
Because, like I've said this several times now, the relationship that Orga and Mika have of their codependency, it's been portrayed in the show as unhealthy. It's been portrayed as something where they bring out the best in each other and they bring out the worst in each other. Orga and his spouts of immaturity, when you look at them, a lot of them are tied back into Mika. When you look at why does Mika throw himself into danger into ways that are not going to be in his best interest and might not be in Tekkadan's best interest, you look back and it's like they might be because of his abandonment issues. When you talk about things like him learning to read and whatnot, I don't think the Mika we met in episode 1 would have considered it worthwhile or even bothered to do that kind of thing. It's by meeting Kudelia, and I don't feel the same way. I feel that the Mika we're seeing now is a different person than he was in episode 1. And I think the Mika we're going to see at the end of the show is going to be a different Mika than when we're looking at in episode 9.
Right.
And to me, that's my absolute favorite type of character writing. When you see the character is it doesn't have to be different, but you could even just say an improved version of the person they used to be. To me, if Mika didn't change who kept being the loyal person to Orga that he is now, I would almost call that failed character writing. Because the way the show has been set up and the way that they've been presenting this relationship is that it's not going to last. I don't believe for a second that the relationship we see now can remain throughout the run of the show in form it's in. I do believe that we will see drastic changes to their relationship, and I would be disappointed if we didn't, quite frankly.
I just don't see that with Mika's character specifically. I mean, because he doesn't seem to change as much as Orga or Kudelia. And I forgot who said it, but somebody mentioned, like, there was an article where the director and the writer were talking about the characters, and they were saying how Kudelia and Orga are more the dynamic characters. They're like the characters that are the ones who are learning and changing, whereas Mika and Atra are actually going to be like more the like stable characters. They're going to be the ones who are like they're kind of at the end of whatever they were going for, and they're more of like not support, but they're where they're basically going to go from now on. I don't think it would be a failure to leave Mika not completely as he is, but to not change him as much as you think he'll change. Like, he's not going to become Kira Yamato or something. He's going to basically stay, I think he's going to stay himself. I just don't think he's going to change as much as you might think. Like, even if, like, in the beginning you say, like, you think that he's not going to change because of the fact that he's he might not have wanted to learn to read in the beginning. I think he would have if he had the opportunity, but he didn't trust Kudelia at that point. And he really did have an opportunity, so he really didn't think about it. But if you remember, he had the dream of wanting to be a farmer before that, because Orga mentioned it earlier. And he knew that reading was a part of that. And so he had that desire to begin with. It just, he never had an opportunity to make any use of it, really.
Right, even when they're talking about the maintenance for the Gundam, we talked about wanting to be helpful by learning how to read.
Yeah. Like, he does a lot of heavy lifting, like basically what anybody who is illiterate would have in terms of a job is mostly like heavy, labor.
Right, yeah, they're not gonna have a desk job.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what he would have, and he's, say, oh, there's now so many other avenues I can do, now that there's someone that I trust that I'm going to allow to teach me how to read.
I'm just wondering what dramatic thing would affect Mika to make him dramatically change into this other kind of character. Would it be Orga getting killed, or someone near him getting killed? Maybe something he does to get someone else hurt? So I'm wondering, like, what will actually make him change, if they're going to push Mika to change eventually. Like, I guess something like a character death would be the only thing I could see making him change that way.
That's another problem to me, is because the only people that he cares about is his family.
Right, exactly.
And if any of them were to die, he would get mad, but I don't think he would change per se.
Probably not, no.
Like, even if Orga were to die, I honestly don't think he would change for the better. He would actually change for the worse. He would, yeah. Because it would break that, relationship that they had in half, basically, that codependence that they have, and so he no longer has anybody to be useful for. He no longer has basically not a reason to live, but basically, anything to really support him in any way. So he might actually go the other way and completely lose whatever what personality he has now and just become like an automaton.
Right, and that's why a lot of people they use the Gurren Lagann comparison between those two characters in this show. It happens the same thing with two characters in that, and the character that gets affected by it falls in this funk where he's depressed, he's sad, he doesn't do anything for like a good 3 episodes. So he's kind of in this like weird funk where he doesn't want to do anything. He's like lost all his will, basically. And I don't want to see that with Mika, but I am just interested in seeing what would cause him to change later on, obviously. And right now we're still going to do they're still on the mission to Earth still, so I don't think it's going to happen yet till they get to Earth, but we'll see.
We're still traveling to Earth.
Right.
It's a good thing they didn't have to go all the way to
Yeah.
to Jupiter.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess we could mention the part where they had that ceremony. That was kind of cool, seeing the. I guess you have a note here about the Japanese and European kind of the clothing in that scene. I guess is very interesting. I like that part where they
Yeah.
almost like
They just
to me, it almost like it sounds like a wedding ceremony almost. I'm like, oh my god, they're getting married, but I was just joking about that one. Like Kudelia and him just sitting there like, not realizing, oh, this is a marriage ceremony. That'd have been funny, but yeah, they weren't not gonna do that. But that was interesting seeing that. So I guess they're part of the family now officially.
Yeah, that was nice. I liked Orga's really push, because his story was basically the whole thing of these last 2 episodes was him and his development, like Sam was saying, and that it's the fact that to me, I brought back that comment from way before when she was saying that the measurement of a man is in how much he loves someone, and that Orga's love for his men, he's got this huge love for his men, and that they're basically the most important thing to him, and he doesn't care what happens to him. He doesn't even care about like his pride, as they say, his pride as a leader. Like that might have been something that he had way earlier when he was, with the first group and everything like that. But the more he's with these guys and he realized, this is his family, this is his group, he's willing to lay that down. He's willing to basically lay down anything, whether it's his life or his pride or whatever it might be, to make sure that they have a future together. And as he loses some of his autonomy, because now that he's joined up with Teiwaz, they're basically calling a lot of the shots, and he's gonna have to listen to them when they ask, but it's still a good thing for his group. So for that, he'll let go of that pride. He'll give that pride up for them, which makes him like probably one of the best leaders I've seen in an anime in a while.
Right. Yeah. I guess we've almost forgot to talk about. We had McGillis and In. They're doing something too. I forgot about their parts.
Yeah, they were there.
They're there somewhere doing
That's
something.
pure setup. Although I do
yeah.
find it interesting that Ein is now working for Galio.
Yeah. It is pretty weird.
I was like, oh yeah, they're there. 5-second cameo.
Yeah, 5-second thing. And him doing his little, I gotta get revenge.
I wish I would just grow. I needs to grow up. I'm like, gosh, you're obsessing over this thing with Craig. It's like, did you even go to investigate the scene? Did you even go to find out anything?
Nope.
I mean, considering that you knew that this guy was looks self-sacrificial when he left, did you even consider any other option other than the fact that they killed him? Really?
Yeah.
You're annoying me now.
Yeah, he's just going by word. He's like, yeah, I believe it.
Well, I actually, I'll give Ein some credit. I think he had an interesting little line where he was talking about Crank did the thing. Crank made a sacrifice because he cared so much about these random kids. And those kids murdered him in cold blood, which is technically true, kind of, sort of, really.
Not really. He was gonna die anyway.
He fought. He poked them first.
I mean,
and
he
they poked
did.
back.
Yeah, I know. I don't like Ein, but I thought that little bit of character writing was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I just want to see him do something. He's like Irene was saying, he's been kind of sitting around complaining the entire time. It's like, why don't you go do something about it?
Yeah, then he goes and fights, and he nobody even pays attention to him. He gets like overshadowed.
Right, it's like, put your money in your mouth and go challenge him if you think you can take him. And in the last bit, I was talking about the Gundam was getting new armor and stuff, so I think that was pretty interesting.
They meet a crazy mechanic.
Yeah, he's all for that. He's just like still hyper excited.
I was like, oh gosh. He's like, oh my gosh, it's the Barbados, it's the Gundam, it's like the best thing ever. Go and buy one.
But he's basically the sunrise fanboy is what he is. Yeah.
Hey,
new Gundam, new
hey,
sheet.
I bought myself a master grade model kit Friday, so I don't want to hear any talking about the merchandise.
No, I don't care. I know that's every Gundam's like that. They're pushing merchandise. In the end, that's what they're doing. but so does every other series. There's nothing new there.
Oh. Oh, that girl's going to has been shown to come back. I think her name was Narabit or something like that. The blonde who was at the bar.
At the bar.
So I'm wondering how she's gonna come back because they've left, you know, the Tayweb station, and so they're on their way to Earth. So where would she come in? I don't know. I wonder if she's gonna be is she gonna be an enemy for them? Is she going to be a
We know
love
she shows up. We know she shows up in the next episode, so
Yeah.
we can have our speculations.
Someone has some kind of theory that it was Atra's mom. I was like, nah, that's not it. I was like, and then some people thought it was that blonde guy on Gallia, whatever. Maybe his mom. Like, no, I don't know. There's so many blondes in the series, so it's like, you know, she could be related to anybody. You never know.
I think at this point, I don't know. I've said all I can say about Gundam. You guys?
There's a bit on I guess the Fumatan kind of. She's still.
Oh
I still don't know about her.
She's kind of suspicious,
yeah.
but
because they did a flashback about her getting a necklace.
Suspicious day one
And
to
she,
me.
like,
It's like
she's not wearing the necklace in a couple shots you see her, so it's like, is they hinting at that she's gonna betray? Someone was saying they kind of made it obvious that she is.
like I said, she's been suspicious since day one. She's like, you know, when she first comes in there, we see her following out, you know, not Atra, Kudelia. The way she talks just seemed kind of off to me, and then later on when she disappears and we don't see her until after the battle ends, and I'm like, that was really suspicious too.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And then she knows how to do the communications network,
Yeah.
which is very suspicious because now she has control of all messages that come in and out. So it's like, okay, how easy is it for her to send something out? She's had like these looks throughout the last few episodes, like when, you know, Orga's talking to her and then he tells her to stay on the bridge, and she's like, okay. And I'm like, why would you let her stay there? She could send any sort of messages. And
Well,
especially if she's the communications officer.
she's only shifty to us, the viewer. Otherwise, no one really knows what her deal is.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we don't
it's
even know
just-
if we don't even know if she's actually untrustworthy. We just think she's shifty, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out she's actually like the most trustworthy member of the crew.
Right. I mean, they're not getting attacked every 5 minutes, so if they were leaking information to the enemy, they'd be getting attacked all the time.
I keep saying I believe that it's going to turn out that she's like sending messages to Noblesse.
Right.
That's possible.
But it
We
doesn't
keep forgetting
necessarily.
Hitler.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's evil.
Right. But,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just since this betrayal that's gonna come, especially with the, because if a show is gonna give you all these hints, all these Chekhov's gun things that been popping up every 5 minutes, you know, with her, with the necklace, with her shifty looks, with her, you know, sitting there, unless they're doing a red herring, which I don't think they would do with her character. I think she's gonna betray them at some point. That, especially like they said with that necklace thing, where it's like, oh, I have a friendship necklace because
Exactly,
I see you so
yeah.
much important than me. And she's like, and then the look on her face, like the shock, and then later, then she's just looking guilty and
You
just
see her
has it.
staring
She
at
doesn't
it,
know
yeah.
it. It's like, yeah, I can see you being, you know, some sort of spy of some sort. I mean, McGillis does mention, like, earlier in his scene that he does have somebody on the inside who's, like, basically following them or something. So I am interested to see who that is. Like, who's on the underground, as he calls it. That's
Maybe he's
looking-
maybe she's related to Ein. They both have black hair.
Oh, no.
No, I was thinking also maybe she's gonna join Derp, Hitler, and Marba. There would be this trio of betrayers. That'd be amazing. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about these two Gundam episodes. You got anything else, Irene?
Nope.
Uh,
That's it.
that's good. We can move on to Comet Lucifer then. Those 8 and 9, which, you know, things have been getting very interesting, I would say, for Comet Lucifer, especially 9, but 8 is basically more of them getting to this altar. I guess they found out, you know, they gotta get affiliated to the altar in order to unlock something. I'm not sure what it is yet, still. They still gotta get there.
Comet Lucifer. Comet Lucifer. I love you sometimes and sometimes I hate you, but why is this show about Sogo again? Sogo is like the most useless MC I've seen this season.
Yeah, his story is not very interesting. I mean,
Like,
they don't.
I've said it before, I've said it again, and I found out that majority of the people who watch the show agree with me. Don Mon is the most interesting character in this whole series.
Right, yeah, he does have a better
Hands down.
backstory.
He's got the most character development. He's got the most interesting backstory. He's got the most interesting, like, ideals and struggles as a character. He's got the... It's like, why is this about Solo again? Nobody cares. You don't do anything.
Well, because if it was about Don Mon and Felia, it'd be kind of creepy. That's probably why. So they gotta have Shogo there as the young guy that she can pair up with. If it was about Don Mon and her, it'd be kind of like, well, they're gonna do a romance thing. It'd be kind of creepy between him and her, even though we don't know how old Felia really is. You know, she could be thousands of years old. We never know. But yeah, I have to agree. Shogo is very boring. When it's just him by himself, it's not very fun. And it's been him with Felia for a bit. These last 2 episodes, they kind of ran off on their own because they don't want the others to get involved, I guess. That, you know, and obviously the others are like, no, we're gonna help, so they have to follow them. But this is, but and yeah,
It's not like you didn't know that was gonna happen. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, they're gonna follow them in about 5.
And they gotta do the whole, we're mad at you, punch you in the face, you know, thing. They were gonna do that next week, because, you know, he left without telling them and all that, whatever. And we do get some backstory on Shogo's mom. I guess she's a professor studying these stones, whatever, back in the day. And I guess that's where Don Mon and other people met her. So that was I like that. It was kind of interesting seeing that little bit of backstory. But it's still, there's not much. I mean, against Shogo, like you said, isn't very interesting. Like, what's he?
Like, he's not important, really. He's more of like a device that's used.
Yeah. He's a cipher.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like the best part of episode 8 itself was the whole backstory of the mother and Don Mon, and how he went from this, you know, really cold-blooded soldier to, you know, being her protector. And I'm guessing he kind of fell in love with her. They don't really push that, but I like that they didn't push that. And that it's really tragic because he was out there in the field when she gets attacked, when he was supposed to be the one to protect her, and she gets killed over this, you know, stone that she's found, the Lima, which that was that really is the stupid thing once they finally revealed what a Lima is. And they literally say, oh, it's the theory is that it's matter from outer space that may produce more energy than their normal energy source Giftium.
Right.
And it's like, so what matter are you talking about? And you realize that outer space is full of matter.
And they call Felia that all the time. When they're trying to catch her, they like, catch the Lima, whatever, find the Lima. So they're always referring to her as that too. So like the military group knows that she's not human. Obviously, I guess they know that.
She's not of this world.
Right, and they're like, find her and all that. And I like Don Mon punched Shogo. I was like, yes, finally someone hit him.
Yes, I was like so happy, like, because his whole tirade about him protecting Felia, and I'm like, you do realize you met this girl like a week ago. Okay, I understand that you like her and all, that you try to protect her and all, and that you want to be a man, blah blah blah, but you're really acting really childish right now, and I am really glad he punched you in the face and then didn't apologize, just left and had you think about it, because you know what, you deserved it, and you're annoying me.
Right. Well, they even showed more of that in episode 9 when he I guess adopted Shogo. They didn't really get along at the beginning. They really didn't like each other. And especially Shogo didn't really care too much for Don Mon in the beginning when they first met each other. He was trying to make all this like curry that his mom used to make, and it was just like, it's not the same and all this, but you know, that was
that I actually could understand a lot more than what he's been through, like what we've seen before. Because I mean, he just lost his mom. That's his only family,
right? And
he's still getting over the grief of that. And he's a kid, and it's like, you know, this guy who he didn't really care about before, and the guy who was supposed to protect his mom to begin with, who he's probably got resentment against, and you know, he's trying to cheer him up. And you know, at that stage, you don't really want to be cheered up. You just want to be like left alone and like swallow. So he's, you know, mad, and you really can't copy. It's like trying, you know, you talk about mom's home cooking. You really just can't copy that. And so it's
Right.
like trying, and I actually loved it more for Don Mon himself, because I was like, oh, they're actually showing this character who's really literally trying to be a single father.
Right, yeah, that
out
part
of
was interesting, yeah.
This is not his life. His life was on, you know, fighting in wars and, you know, being a soldier. And now all of a sudden he's got to stop that and change to being a family man. All of a sudden, for a boy that's not his own blood, you know, that he's taken in, and he's got to cook, he's got to learn how to do all this stuff.
And could care less about him.
Really,
and treats him like trash. As Shogo did.
Yeah.
I mean, treats him like garbage. He's like complaining a lot. But yeah, that was interesting seeing Dalmon that he had to learn too. It wasn't just affecting Shogo, it affected him too. You know, he had to learn to give up the military life and, like you said, become a dad for someone that it's not really his kid, but he wants to because he owes his mom, you know, all that stuff. So, so that was interesting seeing that. And I mean, I think episode 8 didn't really have a whole lot besides that with Dalmon. That's all it really had, and more about I guess the Gifty and all that was interesting.
Oh yeah, they did talk about like what Felia really is, which
Right.
I find
forgot about that.
boring, and I'm like, okay, so there are these dandelion seeds that flow throughout space.
Oh yeah, space
and
seeds.
how
Yeah.
they find a planet,
Right.
and they seed a person, and
Right.
the person is an angel that seeds the planet, and the planet also has a guardian,
Yeah.
and okay.
Because he saw because they had like this like psychedelic mind thing that I guess more revealed that he or she has a kind of a different form, somewhat, but you don't really see it.
I thought a lot of people were surprised that Mora was a girl, and I'm like,
Yeah, I knew it was
I
a
knew
girl.
she was a
I mean,
first name in
that voice.
Well,
I
she's
mean,
a girl.
the voice too kind of helps, but yeah, she was explaining like you were saying there's like planets out there in the seas and all that. So I'm like, are there multiple Felias out there then? Are they? Yeah, they're gonna have, you know, as they did a sequel, you know, another planet, and they have another Felia type. I don't know, but
I think that's really interesting.
yeah, maybe the Felias fight each other.
And you might have noticed from my silence up till now that I really don't have much to say about Comet Lucifer.
Right. I mean,
I don't know. I find it, if there's a good show, you want to talk about it.
Right, I know that.
If there's a bad show, you want to talk about it. If there's just kind of a show that like doesn't do anything for you, like there's nothing to say. It's like there's nothing I could really say about this show.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, episode 8 in a whole wasn't really that interesting. Besides the Don one, that was it. But episode 9 though was a little different. More Don Juan doing his, you know, secret agent stuff. He's infiltrating bases and stuff, trying to find information on something. And while doing that, he gets shot. I thought it was kind of like, damn it! As soon as he got shot, I knew it was not gonna be a good end for that guy, and it really wasn't. But
Like so hoping he wouldn't die. I was like,
yeah, no.
okay, you're like the best character in the show. Then he goes off and just starts being like cold-blooded again. It's like killing people left and right.
Goes Rambo.
They get
gets
shot. I'm like, oh,
yeah, gets shot by like a grunt, not even anyone important, just a random guard. I'm like, god damn. It would have made more sense if like someone else, like a named character, shot him, but no, just some random guard got lucky shot because he wasn't paying attention.
and he already shot him. It was like, why are you dead?
Well, it took like the whole day for him to. I was like, damn. He could have went to the hospital during all that.
Yeah, because at first I was thinking, okay, he's gonna live because it's taking this long. But then they have him in the graveyard, and graveyard scenes, especially if they're hurt, the person's just gonna die. They're just gonna die, talking about whatever their philosophy is, and leaning against the gravestone, and then they slowly die. And
it's the gravestone of the woman he kind of sort of had somewhat feelings for, cared about, whatever. He's laying there. It's the same grave that they had in episode 8 where, you know, Shogo was crying in front of it. So they had that whole scene. You know, I guess like you mentioned a comment he got used from Alchemist.
Yeah, I'm telling you, remind me of Hughes. What was Hughes' first name? Maze. Maze Hughes. And I'm like, the most
Yeah.
influential like death of a character. In the
Yeah, it's even
series.
set the same way where you
And
don't know who the other guys won't know who actually killed them. So that's a bit
yeah,
well if they figure that out, which they probably won't because episode count's kind of running out here.
not that much.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm like, what happened? 'Cause I thought what they were gonna do was that they actually had done this really creative death
Me
scene,
too.
between him and like having him think that he was still alive, and then him getting up and thinking that was Zone,
Mhm.
and then finding out and then seeing the Sogo's mom, and and he's like in shock, but he's happy to see her, and that they would just kind of walk off, like they would hug, and then they would
Yeah.
walk off together, and then we would look back, and he would still be against the gravestone, and he'd be dead. And so I thought that's where they were gonna go with that. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this gigantic knife comes out, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was a
Like,
little
what?
yeah. It was a little weird, I would say. It was just I was expecting that you were saying maybe a nicer ending for him, but to get stabbed like that by some I don't know what she is. Maybe she's a machine. Maybe she's the evil version of Felia. I don't know what she really is. It's kind of weird.
That's because they really haven't done anything with the myth that they had from way back in the first episode about there being like a good one and a bad one. We had speculated way back then that Felia was actually gonna be evil and she lost her memory or something like that.
Right.
When actually I think it's probably this girl and she's evil and she's like another version of Felia, and she's the evil one, but she's can transform
Yeah,
or
she
something
can
like that.
shape shift
And
and all that. It's kind of weird.
because I was like, first of all, I don't even remember your name. Do you even have one? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
they've ever said her name. She's just in the background.
She's always with the
doing
people with the telescope and all that. She's with those people.
Like, she was evil because she was the one who killed like the entire council, and said, "Oh, I planted a bomb on the plane and blew it up." And you knew she was evil, but I was like, she's just probably one of those background evil characters that nobody cares about. And then she goes and does this, and I'm like, okay, so you want to be important.
Yeah, she's out for
Hey,
something. Yeah. And then we had a bit where, Shogo and then finally reached the altar, but not really because episode 10 said there's another one they had to get to. So there's this big fight going on and all that, the mech stuff that was really cool. I mean, it was nice seeing Mora kind of fight again. And Shogo fell inside Mora, which was kind of cool. So he actually became a real mech finally.
He's a real
Like
mech
you-
pilot.
Right.
Pilot.
It reminded me of El Rekka when that same thing happens where he gets in the robot himself, and it's a pretty cool thing. But in Comet Lucifer, it's just like, oh, okay, a robot. That's it. They don't really do anything cool with it besides, I guess, give maybe a little bit more power. That's about it. So yeah, it was kind of a letdown. They didn't do more with that, but it's fine.
Yeah, they don't really have like the enemy is basically a laughing stock at this point. They really don't have any good ones other than this new evil girl and whoever her boss is. Because Gus and his guys are basically pretty much pathetic at this point.
Yeah,
It's
they're
like
laughable right now.
Alfred. Oh gosh, I've never seen such dumbness in an episode in a while since, well, not that long ago.
Oh, yeah, where the smoke and he's shooting everybody. And he shoots his partner's hand, whatever it last Felia go.
I'm like, I can't see her anymore. I'm like, it's a gas grenade. Of course you can't see her. She's still in his hand. It's not like, at first I thought she had actually escaped, like, during the whole thing, and that's why he was saying that. But then to realize that he was just saying that because he couldn't see her and that she was still captured in the guy's hand was really ridiculous.
And then you have Roman and everyone else kind of come to the rescue during all that. And I thought it was funny that we had Cannon kind of driving that motorcycle thing in the middle of all the smoke, not knowing she could hit someone. I was like, okay, just drive. Maybe you'll get lucky and not hit anybody. That was pretty stupid too, but I guess they gotta kind of get through all that. But yeah, I think that was pretty much the episode. I mean, they get to them, Gus and then have to leave, because they get overpowered or whatever. So they have to leave, and now it's again they have to find the next altar, which is next episode. I guess 10 will be about that. So I'm just like, how many authors are there? Can they get to it already? That's my one thing with the series I don't
Yeah,
really like. It's like it's
I
taking.
thought that was the ultimate.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
okay.
I thought they were there already. I was like, okay, cool. We can have the
Oh
last 3
well.
episodes to, see what happens. Now we've still gotta wait next week again. I don't hope they get to that where they get to the real altar and figure this thing out. But I think it's taken too long.
Well, we got 3 episodes to go, so
Right? Yeah.
this much longer.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Comet Lucifer? Last 2 episodes?
Nope.
Yeah, not really anything for me either. Just it's sad to see that guy die. Like you said, he was the best character. Compared to Shogo, who's not really doing a whole lot. So, yeah. Let's jump into I think Sam's favorite
You
series.
can taste the excitement we have for this show.
Heavy Object, 8 and 9.
Heavy up.
So let's do.
I will actually read these episode titles.
Okay, you go for it.
8 is The War of the Ant and the Grasshopper, The Invasion of the Ocean Military State Part 3. And then the next one is In an Obstacle Course Race, It's Normal to Get Covered in Mud, The Battle for Supremacy in Antarctica.
Yeah, they're back in the snow in episode 9. It's like, yeah, oh, yay. But yeah, 8 was more about, I guess, them finding that mysterious, oh, we don't know where it is object, which was stupid in my opinion. I didn't like that. I think it's jump right into that one. They kind of find it, and I was wondering, is there a pilot inside that, or is it just automated? Because it wasn't really doing a whole lot. It was just like shooting randomly. So I'm like, was there a pilot even in that one that they found? I don't think there was.
I
Cause
don't know. I don't remember there.
Kind of just stood there and was just shooting.
Oh, hold on.
So I was like,
Like-
because they found that one they were looking for that was hidden. They're trying to figure out how to strike it down. They kind of did it with electricity, but that's stupid. They did that anyway.
That's what happened was they blew themselves up. If I
Right.
remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
So that was kind of dumb.
Yeah,
But,
it was. And the whole like
Um,
being cocky about it after they blew it up, like, oh look what we did. It's just, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, episode 8. What can I say about it? Well,
I think, here's what I would say.
okay,
about
the
this.
evil people.
Episode
okay.
8 shows, I think, the best thing the show can do, which is bring up an interesting question. The show can't really answer that question, but I think at least it brings up an interesting question, because you have that scene where Havia and they found where the hidden heavy object is.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on the phone with asshole minister, and they have their talk. It's like, don't you know this is all your fault, Havia and Quinn, because you guys are so awesome. The whole world's like, what awesome is Havia and Quinn? Wouldn't us like super awesome? I'm paraphrasing here just a little bit, but that you read between the lines, and that's what's actually being said.
Right, yeah.
Anyway,
They're trying to
But,
catch
like,
him up in a lie or something.
no, I think that's actually a legitimately interesting question taken at the bullshit, which is, yes, in a world where war, I mean, they answer the question by yelling at him, but the idea of, no man, war is totally a safe thing. All you gotta do is let a giant robot fight for you.
Yeah. Or
Like-
or two
Yes,
guys with
not
C4
really.
go in there and
Yeah, exactly.
do the rest of the work.
That
I mean, they
I
are
literally
equal
screamed
forces.
at
If you
that
haven't
scene.
realized
I was so
anything.
mad at that scene. I was like, I was screaming. When I screamed, I was like, ah, because they've gone over this like 3, they've gone over all this stuff about 3 times now. in
Every
different arcs.
episode, I would say.
Yeah, every arc they go over the same things over and over again. But in this one, it just really annoyed me because I was like, okay, so you're literally saying that nobody in the world wanted to act like a human being before Havia and Quinn showed them how.
No, they're
'cause
too
that's basically
scared.
what you're saying.
They're too scared.
You're saying that nobody has a will of their own.
Nope.
Nobody has an idea that they could be more, or that they could, fight against the machine.
Mhm.
Nobody thought of this before Havia and Quinn, and that if you
I
get rid of
totally-
Havia and Quinn, then everybody would go back to being nothing, basically. Really?
Right, yeah, but it's like,
I
yeah.
100% believe that to be the case.
Yeah, I
I'm
do
more
too.
shocked. I'm more shocked that that has not come up in the show's writing before now.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
to expect anything from this show is, to me, a foolish endeavor. And I mean, there's a fairly dramatic scene of them destroying the robot, but again, like, if you believe that
Yeah,
if you believe Heavy and Quinn are going to die in this episode, I will gladly publish my interview with Hayao Miyazaki next week.
yeah, I mean, it's still very, 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 very early, and again, they're not. I don't think, like you're saying, they're ever gonna be put in the danger where they might die. I don't think it's ever gonna be. They're gonna
Honestly,
get lucky.
I will put forth though. Like at the, I didn't think they were gonna die, but I was actually kind of happy that they made them really injured this episode, like badly injured, because I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance, because of Quinn like sacrificing himself, like, because it almost kind of seemed that way when he was talking to Javier, and he was telling him, oh, go over there and do this, but really it wasn't that he was lying, but he was trying to get him out the way so that he could use the water as a conductor. And I was like, oh, are you gonna like give up your life, Quinn, like to save Javier? And I guess in the back of my head I knew that was gonna happen, but it was like still, oh, he's actually, because he can't move, he's stuck, his leg is either, I forgot if his leg was pinned or broken, but it was like, oh, he can't move, he's stuck, and he's got to use this water as a conductor, and water's just going to go everywhere. And so I was like, oh, he's willing to like electrocute himself to destroy this machine, and he's getting Javi out the way. And I was like, oh wow, he's actually going to die.
Right.
But then it was like, nope, never mind.
Yeah, I did like that they actually did something else to destroy the object this week, but still, it was kind of the same thing. They got kind
I
of
really
lucky.
liked how they destroyed it. It was kind of funny. I was screaming in the beginning of the episode, but then I was like really smiling when he was talking about, oh, if it can't reach, I'll use the conductor.
Yeah, I mean, that and they had the
water.
opening song in the background kind of playing. So they
Yeah.
I think it had more energy this week than I've ever seen Heavy Object so
Yeah,
far.
opening songs always give more
I
energy.
mean, yeah, I think of all the episodes so far, this one had the most like wow factor because they're doing something at a faster pace than they usually do it. Where it's this WC4 and wait, and then it blows up, and in the fist bump, like you said, yeah, it's too early for that. It's like you don't really deserve it right now, but I guess it was kind of cool, but not really. That's why I look at it.
I actually put up that,
That's perfectly described the entire show. It's kind of cool, but not.
Not really. Yeah, they
Because,
try.
I mean, the funniest thing about the whole episode to me was the very end where they're raiding Senator Phillips. What's his name again? I don't
Yeah,
know.
they magically
Anyway, they're
appeared
raiding
there,
his
too.
compound.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're raiding his compound, and suddenly, and Milianda has the great line, it's like, I'm not going to lose to you guys anymore. It's like, oh man, you really have an overinflated sense of self-worth, don't you?
It's like that's like an action movie quote, but it's not really for her. It's like, no, don't do that. I did find it funny how they magically appeared in that room with that guy about and they got him saying everything he said. So now everyone knows he said that. I'm like, oh, okay.
I just think that was a
Everyone
little
knows he's a
rushed.
giant tool.
Yeah, like,
I was like, where's everybody coming from? How'd you even find this area? Why is everybody there all of a sudden? Weren't you guys in different spots?
yeah, they were.
And weren't you injured? Like, the fact that you could not walk? Well, how did you start getting all the way over across the land, all the way over there?
It's like, was he next door or something? Just like right there? I mean, it's just there. But
Who knows?
It
And
was
who
like- I was like-
cares?
But yeah, I mean,
I was like, whatever, boys save the day.
yeah.
Girls just there doing their as usual. But one thing that was good, I pointed out, was like, oh, at least there was no fan service other than Miss G Cup and her annoyingness. But other than that,
Right.
there was no fan
She
service.
takes
That episode.
that like, that like anime girl laugh, like oh ho ho ho, to an annoying new level.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah.
Oh,
What
you're
was I
still
thinking
talking.
of?
And I guess jump into
Yeah, do we have
episode 9 where they go to Antarctica for
well,
whatever.
quick question for you guys: have you ever seen March of the Penguins?
yes,
Yes.
and I know what you're talking about with episode 9. That scene was
Because
it was funny but
Because
stupid.
as a kid, I was told to sit down and shut up and watch March of the Penguins. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean that part of the episode was a little bit funny. I'll agree, but I thought it was kind of like very out of place for
Are you
this.
serious? They're penguins.
Right.
And they're marching.
And they stopped because they're in the middle of like this firefight, and these penguins appeared, and everyone just stops, even the enemy stops. I was like, yeah, that was funny, but not.
The penguins.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god. And then
That was
And then they get
probably-
everybody's cheering. They're like, "Yay! The penguins got away!"
and then they go back to fighting like minutes later.
that was probably the most I laughed at this entire show.
Yeah, I can agree. That's.
Oh, that was hilarious. That was cute.
I thought it was more funny when the enemy stopped too, and they're cheering on too. I'm like, wow, this is what this
Stop for penguins.
is. I was like, this is war, people. This is war.
There were actually more than a few like interesting things going on in this episode.
I didn't like the part where he used the map, whatever, and figured out where to make the bombs explode to make the cave in. And I'm like, you just killed like 9 people. Good job. Like,
Pretty much.
you just murdered those
killed, like,
people.
Look, complaining about that is like complaining about all the other. If you're gonna complain about that, you have to complain about every single time they've blown up a robot this entire show.
Oh, I
Do
have.
you really want to go down that
Oh, I
path?
have. We have before.
I know you have, but that's the one thing that's not worth complaining about in the show. That's worth complaining about.
Yeah, no, I just thought it
I'm
was
interested in the fact-
kind of weird how he got that lucky. I'm like, well, I guess, but it's like I didn't know he was a geologist over here. Whatever.
I mean, I liked this new arc because
It's the magic.
Yeah.
From what I read, they were saying like this is last episode 8 was like the end of volume 1 for the light novel,
Mhm.
and this is like the beginning of volume 2, and you can. At first, it seemed like it was the same thing over again because I was like, okay, they're going through the same stuff over again. The boys are back doing menial jobs again. They're having a stupid conversation about objects being the biggest thing in the world again. They're going to fan service again.
They're gonna complain about how they,
like,
they
They're
have to go
watching
out.
porn again.
Yeah, they have to complain
They're
about going
making
out in the world.
And I was like, okay, so they're doing everything again. But then they introduced some interesting characters. Like you have Javia's like betrothed, fiance, I guess.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah.
And at first you think like he's really annoyed with her, because I was really annoyed with her when she first came on, and I was like, oh gosh, you got this another annoying blonde.
I like how her shtick is she just adds the word frickin' into her conversations. That's real original.
But I was like, okay, she's annoying. We got another annoying girl. But then when it gets to the end, and like this is fast forwarding it a little bit, but you get to the end and you see them talking between each other, and you really realize like what Javi is doing,
Right, why he's
and
out
how
there.
he actually feels about her,
Right.
and how she feels to him, and it's like, you actually have some depth. Oh my gosh, you guys have depth.
Right. I always forgot that Javier was like a noble from a big kingdom or something. I'm like, I forgot about that until they brought it
Yeah,
up.
because
this
he
week.
doesn't act. Well, because he acts completely the same as
Right, yeah.
Quinn, except for the fact that he's not as smart.
Right. He acts like he's like a commoner. I'm like, wouldn't you act a different way if you're from royalty? I would think, but
I mean, like, he does mention that they act differently, in different settings. So I guess that's it. But it's like, you would think he would be a little bit more, knowledgeable about how to act,
and not
at parties.
yeah, and not like
stuff.
drooling every time the commander comes around. It's like you have
Yeah, I
you
mean,
have
I
a girlfriend
was
technically.
that
Like, what are
too.
you?
Yeah,
why are you
I
drooling
have a
over?
fiance that you
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
so you're always after other girls. Though I did wonder when he was talking about like if he really likes her,
True.
or if they're just doing this in order to get their families together so they stop fighting each other.
Right. It sounded like
They are really
yeah.
like just like
That
We
final
were
conversation did make it seem like Kavia actually does care about what's her face,
Uh-huh. They're like,
and I thought it
oh,
was.
we're gonna throw in some Romeo and Juliet because you got other stories. Why not?
And I did think it was kind of funny, like, she was hinting like, oh, don't worry, I'm in the safest place where I could never be hurt. And it's like, hey man, we found this missile aimed at the moon.
Laser.
Where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend? He's like, she's on the moon. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
I'm like-
I didn't even think about that. That's where she was at.
the
Okay.
like the worst place to be in any mecha series ever. It's like they keep blowing it up.
Now I was waiting for the moon to be an object. I'm waiting for that. It's a big giant laser, Death Star in
Oh.
friggin' space. It's gotta be an object somewhere. like a, they had to go to space somehow. But yeah, that bit was interesting with Javier. I guess that he has some backstory. Quinn, on the other hand, not so much. He's just this MacGyver lucky guy who can do whatever. And
I wouldn't be surprised if he has an interesting backstory, but interesting isn't close.
right, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not gonna hold my breath for it. But in this one, they're still trying to find another object, which I'm assuming is the big mountain. Obviously, I think that's the object, or it's underwater. But they did just at the end. They were talking about that. Melinda was talking about it, how she can't find it, so maybe it's underwater. And if it's not underwater, one
Yeah,
day
like that.
you can get around faster. I
We're
guess.
not fighting an object this time. We're fighting terrorists.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we've been fighting terrorists multiple times. They do a very poor job defining what a terrorist is in this world.
Yeah, they're just guys that cause a ruckus. That's it. That's all you do.
Oh,
They're guys
that
that
was
aren't on the same side as Havia and Quinn.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something mentioned earlier. I can't remember if it was episode 8 or 7. It was the one where they showed the map and then they showed it shattering, and it was like a stained glass window. And they're like, the world's not like a stained glass window. I was like, okay, first off, if you had that many factions that were separated that many times, you wouldn't have a government. You would have anarchy, because every other place would have something other than, have a different government. It would be way too many. Which is kind of like what this is. It's like every 5 minutes they're running into another terrorist, quote-unquote, group.
Yeah.
That is like, okay, are they terrorists or are they just another group that's different than yours?
They're the pink penguin slayers. Kill them all.
I don't know. The fact that we have destroyed much of the Antarctic landscape is kind of funny, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell by my lack of spewing negativity. This is my favorite episode of the show so far. I don't know how to describe that.
Because they're destroying Antarctica that way.
Something.
I mean, they're blowing things up this episode too. They're blowing up a lot of things. Everything's blowing up, and a lot of explosions this week.
I think about Antarctica. It was like, you guys are just now inventing dumb ways of keeping Melinda out of the battle. You're inventing the really dumb things, just to keep her out of the fight. It's like we know you have to have Javier and Quinn do all the fighting, but do you really have to keep pushing Melinda to the background as badly as this? Because it's like, we can't have an object on there. Please consider it weighs tons. The Antarctica is made of ice. It'll break through.
Well, that and the fact that they're looking.
Did you realize Antarctica's a continent?
Right.
It's made of land.
Well, that and the fact that
just
they're looking for an object that's out there. Wouldn't that object be falling through the ice too? I mean, seemed kind of weird that they had to go there in the first place. But whatever. But they did give Melinda that thing at the end, like I said, to her.
Because they didn't think there was an object here. They were just looking for the terrorists that they said were here. So it was like, okay, so they're just there. It was dumb to me.
I don't really have anything else left to say about heavy objects, so I guess we'll move on to this little bit here about, I guess, commenter thing. You want to do this, Sam?
I'll take point on this. So I'm introducing, I guess, let's call it a new initiative to MechaNORN, and maybe we'll include this in Metaverse 2 or something like that. I'm calling this community outreach, and Fosh is adding yo.
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 So, who are the lucky folks? And maybe we'll include like a little sting at the beginning or a comment, so hey, if I listen to the end, maybe my voice will be heard.
Well, there's not very many people commenting on it, so chances are pretty high.
Maybe more people will want to comment if they know they're being read. Anyway, Inside Baseball, it's great. So, who's the first lucky winner? You might have guessed it. It's Blackbriar, because he says, about Comet Lucifer, as it progresses, you feel more and more assured this series is better off being watched without the slightest bit of expectation and to go with the flow no matter the direction. The story Blackbriar said
I hear you. Sorry.
The story continues to be loose, so anything has free reign to happen. Which I think is true, because I wasn't really expecting the Council of Elders or whatever they are to be just killed off.
Right, or I wasn't expecting Don Mon to be killed by Robo Girl either, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is a good point where it's like, and I made this point like the first few times we talked about the show where, yes, I think I literally said those words. Like, yeah, I expect anything could happen while watching the show. It starts with limitless potential. It didn't live up to that limitless potential, but it definitely moves in interesting ways where I didn't expect it. Clearly, this is the more negative way to put it, where it's like, yeah, I don't expect anything good, so we just watch it.
Yeah, I almost feel that you can apply that to heavy object as well. That stuff just happens, you know.
Totally, but I think it's a little different.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's more of a pattern, I guess, with that one.
Yeah, totally. And lastly, ZZ Top says about heavy object.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh, okay. So was that just me?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
you.
it was just you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So about heavy, ZZ Top has to say about heavy object. Kamachi Kazuma has acknowledged heavy object as a successful novel franchise inside the Index universe. It also has a popular movie adaptation there. And I think that's kind of funny, because, for instance, one of my all-time favorite anime movies, Macross Do You Remember Love, it's explained as it's a in-movie representation of the first season of Macross. Mm-hmm. So it's like the characters watching a movie version of their lives. Kind of like, I don't know, watching an autobiographical movie about Steve Jobs or something.
Right. Yeah.
And he also says that Gundam, I'm still waiting for them to reach Earth, if only to see how far Earth has screwed up the progress. Which makes an interesting point, because we only know Earth as, like, the enemy, quote-unquote, where Gjallarhorn is from Earth, but we also know, like, it's kind of like Earth is both the cause of all Mars' problems, but it also presents a solution, because depending on how Kudelia's talks go, things could change drastically.
Right, yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know. Earth is... I don't know how Earth is screwed up, really, because Earth is really not the enemy. Not the enemy, really? In fact, if you really think about it, we really don't know who the enemy really is. I mean, Gjallarhorn's really above Earth. It's like, because remember they were saying, like, this latest episode that Earth actually doesn't even like Gjallarhorn anymore. They're like, oh, we're tired of them.
They're kind of
being
like
over us.
They're a lot like the Titans from Zeta Gundam, where it's like they control like part of the Earth Federation. Like Gjallarhorn it started off as like the soldiers of Earth or something, and now they're just like they kept amassing more and more power. Where it's like they would definitely side with the Earth, because like I don't know, they're who benefits from keeping Mars the way it is? Earth people, and by extension Gjallarhorn. So it's like they might not be on the Earth side, quote unquote, but their interests are very similar to the Earth people's interests and whatnot.
Well, once it gets to Earth and it's blown up, it's gone. Like, oh no, they blew it up. Oh well.
We would have known by now
we're
if they blew up Earth.
It could be fake. It could be.
I mean, she had to talk to somebody. She was like, I've talked to some president. There was somebody there.
Pre-recording.
I mean, if Earth was blown up, this would be a very different show.
A pre-recorded message from Earth. She didn't really
and also, what was left of the moon wouldn't be revolving around anything anymore. It would just be there.
Yeah, that's true.
That's quite a guess you guys have.
Yeah, I'm going with that theory. The Earth is gone. Yep, I'm going with that theory. Clearly, that's
actually, I didn't think about this because from what I've heard, the Gjallarhorn was actually started by like these 6 or 7 rich families, and they just came together, and that's how they get all their funding, is that they're funded through these rich families. Because I was like, you're a military group, but you're not part of Earth, and you're not part of the outer spheres like Mars or Jupiter, but they govern all those places. And it's like, well, where do you get all your money from to do all this stuff?
They sell
They
sell iPhone 12, and they keep going. There's always iPhones.
You can just call them Blackwater. We get it.
Yeah.
Who just do everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so maybe it's like this 1% against the rest of the world sort of thing. Like, maybe it's the fact that they're led by these really rich aristocratic families, and then they're the ones who have all the power or something. Maybe it's something like in that level, because it really doesn't seem like Earth is really the enemy here. They don't like Gjallarhorn either. They actually want to talk about, giving, Mars its freedom, at least from what the boss guy said about the president. It's like, oh, he wants to give you, to talk about giving you guys, economic freedom and whatever. So it's like, okay, so Earth really doesn't not want to give them freedom. It's just that they haven't really talked about it yet. And then we have, but Galahorn is like sort of against it because they don't want to change the status quo. So is it more of the people who are over Galahorn?
Yeah, well, you know what? We're going to have to find out as we watch, but you know what? Thank you very much, Blackbriar and ZZ Top, for giving us these interesting things to talk about. And I hope that you guys in the comments, if you keep the interesting comments coming, we'll keep reading them and we'll keep discussing them. So you know what to do if you want it to work. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I guess that's it for MechaNORN this week. Went kind of long, but yeah. See you guys next week for one episode.
Next week we won't be doing double episodes, so it'll actually be shorter.
Yeah, hopefully. if
Hopefully.
all goes well. But yeah, see you guys next time.
Bye.
Peace.